Hey everyone, welcome back to Homegrown Passion. Well, we're working on the project that we put off all summer long because it was too hot, too cold, too windy, and it's going to be winter pretty soon, so we got to get it done today. So stay tuned. Here's our project. It's replacing the plastic on the creek side of the greenhouse. Last summer, I'll put a link to the video that we did, we replaced a couple of the boards on the bottom of the plastic because they had popped up because we had a flood and then it froze. And so now today we're going to get this plastic put up and get everything buttoned up before winter. So we decided the easiest way to replace the plastic was to use the scissor lift because it's at the right height next to the greenhouse, don't have to lift it up, and we were able to go down the greenhouse side and pop out all the connectors that were holding the plastic into the gutters. And once we did that, I had to go through and wash it all out. I couldn't believe how much algae was in there. Then there was this little groove that the connector went into also, and it was filled up with dead bugs and all kinds of gross stuff. So I was really glad to get all that stuff cleaned out of there because you never know what kind of bugs or pathogens may get in your greenhouse if you leave that stuff go. So next thing we need to do now is just cut the rest of the plastic down and get the new stuff in place. So we have the scissor lift already in place at the front of the greenhouse. So the plan is to take the skidster that's going to be holding the roll of the plastic, and it's dangling beneath the forks on two pipes so you can unroll it. It's going to be about 20 feet behind the scissor lift here. We're going to unroll it and then get it clipped up in the first corner here and just keep clipping it as we go and just keep backing up. Going to be going up and down the scissor lift a bunch and moving the skidster, but it's getting a little breezy and we don't want to lose the plastic and have it blowing all over the place. So I think our plan's going to work. And of course, the day that we want to do this big project, I get up in the morning and I twisted my knee that I fell on the ice a couple years ago. So luckily I still have my knee brace, so right now I'm pain-free and keep working. Well, we got the entire top buttoned up. You can see it's blowing in the breeze a little bit, but it's not too bad. We left the original plastic up on each of the end walls as we were pulling the new plastic down, so we just dropped it. So I'm going to pull that out. And the next thing I need to do is rake away all the gravel that we have up against the greenhouse and make sure the connecting channel on the bottom is free and clear of any rocks and debris. Well, that took a little bit longer than I anticipated. Got the bottom buttoned up, but we had to pull a lot of rocks away, and we did have the connector on the bottom boards, and the dust and dirt got in there, so I had to go and sweep that all out because I want to make sure we had a really good seal so the plastic doesn't pull out. So we were able to go all the way down. There were 7 of the pieces that we had to put in and use the dead blow hammer and pound them in, so it took a little bit of time. And then in the ends, we had to put the wiggle wire in, and that's kind of cool. Whoever invented that's really smart. You just kind of wiggle the wire, it goes back and forth and really holds the plastic nice and tight. And after we got it all buttoned up, we put the inflation fan in, and that made a big difference. You can already see it's starting to get puffed up, and that keeps the plastic from blowing in the wind and gives it a little bit of R value, not much, but it does help insulate it. But since the sun's going down, I don't think we're going to be able to complete the whole project. As you can see on the bottom, we still have to cut off the excess plastic, and the same with up in the gutter, and there's a couple little pieces around the corners we got to fix. So we'll do that tomorrow morning. And next year, because I don't think we're gonna have time this year, we still got to do the other side of the greenhouse, so I'll definitely have to plan a whole day to get that done. So another project we're going to do this winter is replace the plastic on the high tunnel. That plastic, if you believe it or not, is 10 years old. Probably should have replaced it a couple years ago. You can see how disgusting and gross it is. So the strawberries are almost done with their production. So once I get everything cleaned out of the high tunnel, we're going to go ahead and replace that. And what I noticed on the greenhouse, it's a different manufacturer of the plastic than what we originally had, and it is so much clearer. I can really see in there and see what's going on, and I think it's really going to help with the light, the side light coming in, especially when the sun's over that way. It's going to really illuminate this side. So I've mentioned this before. We have this nice area in between the high tunnel and the greenhouse. We have it all graded out. We want to put down some black ground cover. And then next year, I want to get BATO buckets and do outside production of zucchinis and different types of melons. I have to fence it in for sure because of the deer and the raccoons and put the electric fence around it. But I think this is going to be a beautiful area to do some more produce and take to my farm market and just have more fun. Well, my plans got changed. You can see we're here in the head house. I'm going to do something totally different than what I wanted to do today. I did want to cut all the extra plastic off of the sidewall that we put up yesterday, but it started raining and it's cold and crappy outside, so I thought I'd come in the head house and do something different. So this is a project I was going to do in a couple days, but since it's raining, I might as well get it done today, and it's getting ready for the spring. That's one good thing about the greenhouse, is I can start planting things here in the fall and watch them grow all winter, and then they come into production right in time for spring in the farm market. So what I'm seeding today are my tomatoes and peppers. The tomatoes, it's Rybulski. It's a really nice red tomato I've grown for quite a few years. Then I'm going to do my bell peppers, the colored ones, and some poblano's, banana peppers, and some jalapenos. Now the reason why I have to get them seeded so soon is because these guys take forever to mature. So they're actually going to be in the nursery channel for a good month and a half to 2 months before they're even transplanted into the BATO buckets. And then even after that, it's going to take another 3 months before I get fruit. So the tomatoes, planting them now in November, I'll probably get ripe tomatoes in April. And the same with the sweet peppers and the bell peppers. I'll get those in April. And then the hotter peppers, they take longer to mature, and I won't get those until about June, which would be right in time for my farm market. So most of the plants that I have in the greenhouse and the NFT channels and cucumbers and beans, I use the Oasis cubes. They work out really well. But with the peppers and the tomatoes, they're a little bit harder to germinate, and the seeds are a lot more expensive. So I go ahead and I use a product called Rapid Rooter. I've used this for quite a few years. There's a link down below for it, and they work really well. They're a nice little cube that's preformed, has a nice little hole in the middle of it, and it stays nice and moist, and it's a really good growing medium for the peppers and the tomatoes. One of the big reasons I like the Rapid Rooters is that the plants, once they start and the roots start coming through the growing medium, they just grow perfectly, and I can just drop this whole thing right into the BATO bucket and into the perlite. A couple times I tried to use Jiffy cubes and all that stuff, and it just didn't work out as well. It didn't seem like the roots could get through the growing medium. So these are win-win. So I'm seeding for 1 row of tomatoes and 1 row of peppers. Each row has 20 BATO buckets, and each bucket gets 2 plants, so that's 40 plants altogether I have to do. So the tomatoes are easy, it's all going to be the same, all 40 of them. The peppers are going to be a little bit different. The bulk of it is going to be the colored peppers, but I'm going to have 2 BATO buckets that are going to be poblanos, 2 for jalapenos, and 2 for banana peppers. One thing about greenhouse tomato seeds, these guys aren't cheap. They're over $1 a seed, so I'm very, very careful. I don't want to drop any of them. So what I found that works really good for me, my seeding bucket here, is I use tweezers because the seeds are so small. So I put them in my palm of my hand, and then I go ahead and pick each one up with the tweezers to plop it into the Rapid Rooter. Carefully dump them out so I don't spill any. Make sure they're all out. So now I'm ready to seed. So I have the seeds in the palm of my hand, and I gently pick up one at a time, because they always like to stick together, and place it in the little hole of the Rapid Rooter. It's a little time consuming, but I make sure I get good germination, and I don't waste any of these precious little seeds. There, 1 row done, so I'm going to keep seeding. Tomatoes are all seeded, so now I'm going to start on the peppers. And their seeds are a little bit bigger, but I still go ahead and use the tweezers. As you can see, they're a little bit bigger, but just easier for me to use the tweezers and plop them into the hole. So once I get all of the plants seeded, I am going to go ahead and cover them up and keep them here in the head house because they need it a lot warmer to germinate than it is out in the greenhouse. They need about 70 to 80 degrees, and we usually keep the head house about 75. So it's a perfect place for germination. Like I said, it's going to take a week or so for the tomatoes and maybe up to 2 weeks for the peppers. And actually with the pepper plants, I have had them germinate, and then I've had some empty cubes, and maybe 3 or 4 days later the next seed germinates. So they're staggered germination, so just keep an eye on them, and you'll probably get a good crop if you let them go and don't get worried and throw away the cubes. And I always fill out plant tags because I want to make sure I have all my same plants together. So I have my jalapeno, my poblanos, banana peppers, and the Rybulski, and it also gives me the date I planted it. Even though I put it on the calendar, sometimes I forget. So now that I have everybody seeded, I'm going to go ahead and put the black covers on top of each plant tray to make sure that they stay in the dark so they germinate. But check your trays every single day because these guys will dry out, especially being so warm. And if you do have to water them, make sure you bottom water them because if you put it on top, the seeds are going to float out and you're not going to get any plants. Well, I wanted to bring you guys in the greenhouse to show you how nice the new plastic looks. What a difference. I had a big cut in the front part of the plastic from about 4 years ago on Thanksgiving. We had a piece of the polycarbonate blow off of the high tunnel and smash up into the greenhouse and put that big old gash in there, and I was always taping it up, so now I don't have to worry about that. It's holding the air in between the two layers of the plastic, so it's really nice, and I'm already seeing such a difference on the light coming in from the new side that we just did and from the old side. Do have a little bit of condensation coming up right now because it is getting cold out and it is nice and warm here in the greenhouse, so that's one thing you have to deal with in the winter time, but I'm just so happy we got this done. So I think I'm going to end the video here. I hope you guys liked it, and please leave me any questions, comments, and suggestions down below, and we'll see you guys next video.